Ugh. Oh. Okay, no queen. No queen would be cool. So, shove a6 there seems pretty standard. Unlucky to run an ace queen. Even unluckier to lose to a6. GG, man. Oh shit. Satellites. Forgot. Hey, what's up, AK Jordan? How's it going? How's your day treating, my friend? Why is this not working? Wow. Alright, well, we'll just not do that. Since we can't get it working. How you doing today, AK? How was your Sunday grind, friend? King 7. How dare you disrespect me with that hand? Getting pretty close to a bag here. About 13 minutes away. This might just be good. I mentioned this earlier, but we were talking last night about maybe just not firing a million bullets at these things and just getting like a reasonable stack for day 2 and going from there. If it were to end right now, we'd have about 50 big blinds for day 2 already. And it's not even February yet, so... Alright, looks like we're about to bag. About 16 more K in the bag. Put it in the bag, dealer. Two bullets, two bags. Or did we fire? We might have fired two bullets today in this. I don't remember. No, actually, I don't think we did. So yeah, we fired two bullets and we got two bags. And it's not even February yet. $44.6K for day two. We might just roll with that and just not fire anymore. Then we're actually profitable when we cash, which I guess would be nice. Alright, now we just gotta find a double up in the Sadie and we'll be all set. Guess we just rip this in. Alright, good luck us. Oh, we can win a flip. We got King, Jack of Hearts. Oh, too many outs. Too many outs. Oh, not too many outs. Oh, that's a full house. Fuck. We got break coming up in a second. I'm going to step away for a minute, hit the restroom, and maybe grab a quick snack, and I'll be right back.
think about him now and then. Was there anything that I could have said? I was young and over my head. I was just a kid who couldn't make a difference. Feeling like a piece of shit that I could give up and move on and get over it. Maybe I'll see him again. Tell stories on the weekends. I still think about him now and then. Was there anything that I could have said? I was young and over my head. I was just a kid who couldn't make a difference. Feeling like a piece of shit that I could give up and move on and get over it. Maybe I'll see him again. Tell stories on the weekend. I'll watch all my friends fade out. We used to hate sleeping, hung out every weekend. You hit the bottom and the bottom drops out. The drugs you been keeping, use them every weekend. You were strung out on the pavement. High school kids getting wasted. The memories all fade out. Stories that keep it dumb on the weekend someday.
Let me tear my shirt right down to the hole of my shoes. Like another left to lose. Like another left to lose. Ain't nothing's ever gonna get better. No, it's all clever rules. Like another left to lose. Like another left to lose. But you can help me up. And we can try, love is not enough. And we can hope and pray we don't grow up. But there's not something we choose. And I got nothing left to lose. Yeah, you can help me up. It seems it doesn't matter how I fight. I'ma never get it right. I'ma never get it right. So I turn my back to the light and just fade into the night. Oh, I'ma never get it right. I'ma never get it right. But you can help me up.
All right, I appreciate your patience. Had a quick lunch. Hot dog. Had a hot dog for lunch. One thing I want to do is... I want to do some research into what is cratering the stock market right now.
Stock market's opened just a few minutes ago, and it's not pretty. Down big, especially the tech-heavy NASDAQ. CNN's Matt Egan is here to explain what we're seeing and why, Matt.
Yeah, John, we've got a bit of a tech sell-off this morning, and it's being caused by earth-shattering developments in the AI space. So let's take a look at this. Did you see the Dow down more than 140 points right now? S&P solidly lower, but the real action is over here in the NASDAQ, 600 points lower, nearly 3%, on track for one of its worst days in the past 2 years. And here's why. There's a Chinese startup that few people had ever heard of until the past few days, and it has emerged as a real player in the AI arms race. It's called DeepSeek, and investors, and I would imagine officials in Washington, are stunned to learn that DeepSeek's AI model has developed technology that can actually be competitive with OpenAI and Google and xAI and all these more established players. It's only been around for a bit, but DeepSeek has already vaulted to the top of the App Store on Apple as the most downloaded app, passing ChatGPT, which is pretty shocking. Look at that, number one. Veteran investor, billionaire Mark Andreessen, he's a legendary tech investor. He said that DeepSeek is, quote, one of the most amazing and impressive breakthroughs that he has ever seen. Now, the most stunning thing here isn't necessarily that China has developed a pretty good AI app. It's how cheap it is. DeepSeek says that their AI model only cost $5.6 million. Now, we don't know that, but if that's true, that is pretty stunning. Anthropic, one of the leading AI companies, has said that it costs about $100 million to $1 billion to develop an AI model. We know that Mark Zuckerberg, the Meta CEO, says that his company plans to spend $65 billion on AI. So, John, look, this is all really questioning sort of the foundation here of the AI boom, which is that it requires a lot of spending, which is that the US is running away with the AI arms race, and it's also questioning some of the big positives that have pushed markets to record highs.
Check this out. I'm going to show you how I afforded this car. Okay, you ready? All right, 100. Good morning from London.
Oh, we got a flush.
Alongside Guy Johnson and Chrissy Gupta. We're an hour away from the opening trade. Here's what you need to know. NASDAQ futures tumble on concerns that a cheaper AI model from Chinese startup DeepSeek could threaten US big tech. President Trump holds off hitting Colombia with sweeping tariffs after reaching a deal on the return of deported migrants. Plus, markets brace for a big week from central banks, with the Fed and ECB
Diamond.
both set to deliver their decisions.
Nice.
In the meantime, quick check on these markets. We are kicking off this week and this Monday with a very gloomy mood. Eurostoxx 50 futures down over 1%. The FTSE 100 right on its heels, down about 0.7%. But the real pain is concentrated over in the U.S., specifically in those NASDAQ 100 futures, down about 2.4%. We're going to dive into those details. At the same time, we have one eye on Russian sanctions, another eye on tariffs coming out of the States.
No, I want a DeepSeek.
We're going to break that down as well. Brent crude at a 77 handle, down 0.7%. The countdown to the opening trade starts right
Oh boy, the U.S. economy just walked into the wilderness sculled with all of its GDP. Oh man, what does that mean for us? Why is it happening? And is this going to be a buy the dip opportunity? I'll let you know in this video, especially since this is Fed week and we've got a lot to buckle up on. So let's get started with, well, first of all, I'm going to take this sip of coffee,
Boom.
but then
Ship the
I
value.
want you to know why. Why all of a sudden did the NASDAQ, now it's recovering a little bit, but in pre-market drop, essentially the entire market, sold off $1.2 trillion of market capitalization, 3.4% here on the NASDAQ. It was even lower just a few minutes ago. Tesla's down 3%, and if you look at NVIDIA, it's
Eight
down
ball, corner pocket.
11.56% in the pre-market. What is going on? Why is Apple only down 0.25%? Well, all of it can be explained, and that's what we're going to do in this video, in this AM edition of the Meet Kevin Report. News that makes you money. All right, what's going on? Well, listen, look, yesterday and on Friday, I made videos covering the DeepSeek story. That is exactly what's going on. And in this video, I'm not going to reiterate to you how basically there is a new artificial intelligence model that allegedly can perform as well as some of the best quality versions of chatbots from Facebook or OpenAI, competitor to GPT, with a fraction of the training expense, potentially as little as 95% or as much as 95% less actual compute or training expense to have similar results. Now, a lot of people are saying, I don't know, there's something sus about the Chinese. They're lying to us. But the problem is the code for this AI is open source. So every hedge fund and institution, well, they can express jade on the internet. They're downloading the app in the App Store, which is now ~1 in the App Store. They're going to DeepSeek and they're making burner accounts and they're testing it. They're running it against the money, the billions of dollars that are being spent on compute every single year just for artificial intelligence models that now China is putting to shame. Consider this for a moment. Just to train a traditional model usually takes somewhere around $500 million. That's to train one model that they just did, the Chinese via DeepSeek, allegedly for less than $5.6 million. That means we're spending a lot of unnecessary brute force money on artificial intelligence chips and server centers. But it's not just that money. I mean, consider the first half of last year, we spent about $120 billion on artificial intelligence and artificial intelligence related. We think that by the end of the year, our U.S. economy probably spent about $200 to $225 billion on artificial intelligence. And that's just really on like chip making investments, right? Now, you might not think, okay, well, I mean, come on, Kevin, we have a $23 trillion economy. That's, maybe 1% of our economy. Why does that matter? Well, there are a few reasons that spending matters. Number one has to do with the velocity of money. So this is an old economic principle that basically says when one person spends $1 and it goes into the economy, it cycles through the economy and actually generates spending between $3 to $4 for every dollar that is spent. And there are different types of velocity of money, right? So when you put your money in a savings account, the velocity of money is closer to 1. When you go spend your money, the velocity of money is closer to 3 to 4. Well, AI spending is
That didn't go well.
Spending. So we actually create a substantially strong contribution to GDP through, quite frankly, artificial intelligence spending, and it could be why we've avoided a recession. See, again, if you take, let's call it 1% contribution towards GDP, it doesn't sound like that much, but then recognize, oh my gosh, GDP is growing at about 2.5% to 3% with AI, and then apply a 3x multiplier to that 1%, that means all of the 3% growth could be attributed to artificial intelligence and the additional spending that comes via the velocity of money. This is a really big problem because it potentially means our GDP without artificial intelligence spending, if all of a sudden we pare back the spending, if, that's a big if, right? We could keep spending. But if all of a sudden corporations like Microsoft and Meta are like, damn, we've been duped. Well, you know what? We've got big data centers. Let's try to use the technology DeepSeek has with all the infrastructure we have. Let's pause on new infrastructure spending, and let's try to innovate with what we have, which we have plenty. And now all of a sudden you have a license basically for Amazon, Meta, Microsoft, Google to spend less money on artificial intelligence and say, let's work with what we have. Well, then all of a sudden you're in a place where maybe you end up getting the contribution to GDP sitting instead of at 1%, and then as a result, the velocity of money at 3%, you actually end up sitting at 0% GDP.
Yeah, let's get it all in. There we go.
What happens
That's what I
when
like
you
to
have
see.
0% GDP growth and a Federal Reserve that is freaking out over a resurgence in inflation? Well, what you have is textbook stagflation. And the silence from people like Elon Musk actually speaks volumes to how much of a risk DeepSeek could actually be. If you scroll through Elon Musk's latest tweets, there is not a single mention of DeepSeek. And he tweets a lot. Why all of a sudden are we going quiet? Now, maybe I've missed a reply somewhere, but usually Elon is very, very vocal. And there is a potential, there is a chance that maybe Elon's looking at this going, oh my gosh, this is the valuation of XAI. Poof. That's the extreme. I'm not saying that's exactly what's going to happen. I'm not saying the economy is going to go into stagflation, but we're going to have a highlighter on a Fed meeting this week. And we're going to be looking for something very specific. We're going to all
Take a look at this strange device that I'm holding in my hand. It's smaller than a quarter, but I believe it's going to
be going to meetkevin.com because we've got a trading challenge that starts in like 4 days here and a huge Trumponomics coupon code. So if you're nervous about any of this that's going on, check out the Trumponomics coupon over at meetkevin.com. That's because if you want to get through the madness that 2025 is going to be in the market and via Trump, you want somebody on your side every day. We are going to be conducting course member live streams. You get to be a part of them every single morning. Ask me any questions you have. But you're also getting access to all of the Trumponomics content, including the trading challenge and options alerts that begin February 1st. In addition to that, we're releasing content around tax strategies under Trump, investing under Trump, hedging under Trump, real estate under Trump, building an entrepreneurial brand under Trump and marketing under Trump. All aspects of essentially making money under the Trump administration, we are covering in Trumponomics, and the amount of content that's out right now is a fraction of the new content that's coming, which means if you lock in your price today, you get all of that content going forward for the life of the course under Donald Trump. So check out the Trumponomics course. Join Trumponomics. I can't wait to see you there. And get in before the price goes up, because the price will probably be double where it sits right now. And I can't wait to have you. If you have any questions, email us at staff@meetkevin.com. Otherwise, check it out over at meetkevin.com. So what else do we have to know? Well, we have the Federal Reserve this week. This is very, very important. The Federal Reserve this week is expecting to tell us, hey, we are going to pause. But markets are actually going to start pricing in the potential for more interest rate cuts if GDP tumbles. Now remember, I have been one of the people who's been basically called a clown because I've argued that at some point there is going to be an efficiency movement. I have said time and time again that when you look at a chip like Blackwell that uses 25% of the energy as an H100 to perform the same type of training, then you don't need as much energy and as much electricity or utility investments as people think. Now, what's actually happened is not only are you getting chip-based efficiency, but now you're getting model or demand-side efficiency, which means your demand for energy will fall under new efficiency models, but also your demand falls under more efficient chip models. This makes utilities specifically exposed to, unfortunately, the negative risks of efficiency from better training compute, especially since you're in a place where you don't actually have that much profitability coming from artificial intelligence today. A lot of people are wondering, Is this overblown spending? Now, look, I'm a big fan of artificial intelligence and the things that can come out of artificial intelligence. Consider for a moment that companies like Tesla, or I hate to say it, but Tesla's competitors, might actually now be able to engineer full self-driving versions much more
That looks sexier.
efficiently
48
than they
hands.
have previously. The holdup is all going to come down to data. Tesla has the highest access to data today. But what happens when training gets so inexpensive that you could actually train using artificial intelligence simulated models plus collecting data or even buying data? Well, at some point, that moat for Tesla's FSD will begin to shrink. And I have concerns that at some point that moat shrinks before Tesla actually makes it to the level of robotaxis, allowing multiple entrants of robotaxis at the same time. This is not to be bearish Tesla. I actually think I'm very, very overall bullish. Long-term Tesla, Optimus, robotaxi, very excited. The problem that we all face though right now comes down to valuation. And I hate being that person that brings up valuation, but let's just consider for a moment what valuations look like in the market. So when we jump into US versus global equities and valuations thereof, take a look at what we have. We have the Magnificent Seven sitting at the highest level that we've seen compared to the rest of the world ever. Now, keep in mind, and these are obviously adjusted over time.
Ship it.
The problem with this chart is it doesn't consider the fact that earnings are disproportionately showing up in the United States because of artificial intelligence. So I actually think you're better off using an inflation-adjusted sort of PE multiple, right? A multiple of earnings. How many times earnings on an inflation-adjusted basis are U.S. stocks trading for, and how does that compare to other points in history? And this is actually where you come up with the Buffett measure or the Cape-Shiller PE multiple, the CAPE ratio, for, what do we have? Valuations in the U.S. stock market. And what you'll find is that U.S. valuations right now sit at the high that we sat at in December of 2021, which was also the time the Federal Reserve became more aggressive again. And that's somewhat what we're going to hear likely this week. An aggressive Fed in the face of inflation fears. Also, while the market is going to be concerned about growth fears, it's not an ideal duality. That's going to be very similar to what we saw in December of 2021. And the fears today about the Federal Reserve actually began on December.
Do this 7 minutes a day until February 1st. We start today. In a week, you'll feel better. In 2
No.
But ever thus, the high on the street's probably 220, 230, and the low is like 95.
Yeah.
And that's the great mystery. And one can say, well, charts have these problems. Charts, it looks great until it doesn't. It's the same thing there. How can one analyst think it's worth 95 and another analyst think it's worth 220? I mean, what the what? That's a joke.
Ace.
But like you say, no lines, no judgments, no.
I just feel like Ace is coming.
Like,
maybe a
that's what
spade.
the technician, that's what your job is. You do a great job of it, and oftentimes it does not match up, right, with the fundamentals, the folks that are clinging to their price targets and their estimates, right? So, all right, Carter, we really appreciate you being here on such a busy day.
Yeah, enjoy Florida. I like that fountain. A lot of pools down there. They got about 10 of those things.
A lot of pools at the Fountain.
Fun in a pool.
So by the way, guys, you know where to get Carter Braxton work. That would be worthcharting.com. He's got a lot of great stuff out there. Today, Guy, let's talk about this Apple. He just brought it up. You were talking last week about this 220 level. And maybe Amanda can pull that up. Let's throw a 150-day moving average on there. Let me just give you quickly why I believe the stock out of the gate was down a little bit, but then it came up. And we talked about it on the Tape podcast that dropped this morning, sometime around, is that this is a company that has not spent tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars on generative AI. They in June, they announced that they're going to partner with OpenAI, license. They weren't that clear about it. People thought that at the time they were going to be paying OpenAI. It looks like they weren't. So they basically said, why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free? And while the Apple Intelligence has not caused the upgrade cycle for their phones, I think a lot of investors are like, well, that was pretty smart. You and I talked about it over the summer back in June. And again, you could have been positive about that one fundamental piece of news, but you didn't have to be impressed with what the offering was.
What I said this morning and what I'll repeat here if you didn't hear it, Apple is being rewarded for not jumping into the pool with everybody else, right? So if you want to play a little stock market game, they were a trader or an investor that did not go all in on the AI trade and sat on the sidelines and watched the world pass them by. And now theoretically, they're getting rewarded for that today. But then think about really the problems with Apple, if there are problems. Valuation is a problem without question, and it's still about the integration and again the upgrade cycle around it. So the fact that they didn't spend, good for them, but it doesn't mean that that's going to be a boon for their business. They still have to prove the integration. Now, 220 was a level. We talked about it last week. We said if you're looking for a place to sort of play a little stock market, that is support, and that proved
well,
to be true
hey,
at
we
least
made
for
60
today.
cents.
They report this week, and valuation is still a problem, and there's clearly still something going on. And obviously, we're starting to see the competition in some of the China headlines coming out. So, my opinion, this was a rally that made sense off that level. And I'll say it right here. If I'm wrong, I'll be the first to say it. But I think this is going to be short-lived past earnings this Thursday.
All right, so here's one take here. Again, Apple Intelligence was never going to be in China. Supposedly, there's 300 million iPhones in China that probably are 2, 3, 4 years old, something like that. So the idea that you're going to get a big upgrade cycle in China is not particularly great. And now, all of a sudden, if you were a Chinese consumer with an Apple iPhone and you wanted to use OpenAI's ChatGPT, now you have DeepSeek. You know what I mean? So, like, again, there's no reason to do that. And you might also see like WeChat and their super app and now DeepSeek and the version of TikTok. Maybe you just buy a cheaper Android phone. And the other thing I'll just say about this is that as tensions continue to get ratcheted up with the tariff, trade war, all that sort of stuff, the Chinese over the last couple of years have made nationalistic consumer choices. We've seen how weak EV sales out of Tesla have been. We've seen a slowdown in Apple iPhone. So their guidance really important to me. I want to say over the last 4 years, guys,
Just breaking.
China has been a boom or a bust for Apple, and it really feels like the bust is not over.
I agree. We're going to find out. Let's take a couple questions real quick. Nocturnal Sky, that's a new name. Advice on AMD. Well, I'm not going to give advice. This is what I'll say. And we have been negative on this name for a while. And this is a stock that now, today, I believe it's making a 52-week low, if not right around it. It's been basically cut in half from its all-time high, which is pretty remarkable if you think about it. And it's still not particularly cheap. So, again, just me looking at it, and this is consistent. Like I still think
excuse me.
there's further room to the downside in a name like AMD. It's not you're running away from it here, but you're looking for a spot, and this is not it. I don't think this is it yet. Dan.
195, maybe pull up a 5-year really quickly. And again, why are we focused so much on the technicals when the fundamental?
Oh no, I broke everything.
Fundamentals are as blurry as they have been for a bunch of these names. I mean, you're trying to kind of grasp for anything that can help you think about this. But the price action since their Q3 earnings back in late October, there was a gap and it just kept on going lower. It barely saw an uptick. Guy, I want to throw up two other charts here because it's similar sort of themes. Let's go to Micron for a second. So, this was a story. The stock took off, late or mid last year. I want to say in the spring.
Yep.
All these servers,
Nice.
more memory. There's so much demand for the servers and the data center and the compute and yada yada. Well, look at this thing, man. This kind of
Hey, thanks, machine.
85 or something like that. And go back to mid-December. That gap was on their earnings and guidance, and people were trying to explain it away. Oh, AI is fine. It's just all the other consumer electronics. That's a bunch of shit. I mean,